Good morning and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, a very special episode with a very special guest, the one and only comedian, Josh. Oh my gosh, it just occurred to me. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Novey.
It's Novey. I do.
It is Novey.
I love that you just said that I'm the one and only comedian.
Yes, ever.
It's so what? You ever heard of a comedian? No,
He is the first
this guy.
and the last, the Alpha and Omega, the one and only comedian, Josh Novey.
Hey guys, also it's a special episode of the Novey Shovey that we're doing right here in the Paul Green Comedy Podcast Studios.
It's 2 podcasts, 1 broadcast. Why film twice when you can film once?
Yes.
And double our 20 views.
Yeah, we're gonna get 23 views.
23. So we're not going to double. We're not going to double.
We will. We'll double it.
We'll double it. So this is going to be a duel.
Yeah.
So usually I start, but I feel that that's very presumptuous. Do I get to start because I have the sign?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you should, but also I'm not gonna. So here's the thing: when I do my podcast, I don't plan anything out.
Oh, me either.
There's no rhyme or reason to what I do in life, and I keep that constant.
Well, my podcast has this much rhyme or reason.
Oh, okay.
A little bit. The only thing is I'm a big believer in going for dreams, whatever that means.
Ooh, okay.
Actually, I call this podcast a podcast by a dreamer for dreamers. And obviously, my dream happens to be in the entertainment, comedy, acting sphere, but everybody has their own dreams. So why don't I'll start my portion of the dual podcast,
okay,
and then you can throw it back to me however you want. But I would love if you talk about what your dreams are, what your dreams were, where you're at in that process, big ambitions, small ambitions. Let's get to know Josh on a dream level.
Well, my original ambition was I really wanted to be an insurance salesman, and I tried and I tried. I couldn't do it, and I said,
"You're like, Daddy, I want to be an insurance salesman." It's like, "You're going to be an actor, son."
Well, no, because I go, Dad, I want to be an insurance salesman. He said, "Listen, you need to have a backup plan.
You need a backup plan. So why don't you do some comedy?
Do some comedy at night,
Yeah.
for about 14 years,
Yeah.
and you will start to make a living.
Just to get a little bit of safety net built out, and then just do insurance.
Yeah.
When you can.
Yeah.
And if it happens to pop, if you happen to get a big break in the insurance game.
Could you imagine if you had to I want to be to do insurance? You're like, listen, guys, I've been doing insurance at night, guys.
Yeah. And they're all like, they see you doing insurance. They're like, don't quit your comedy job, bro. Do you not? Dude, we saw you try to sell that life insurance policy, bro. Don't quit your comedy,
bro. You can use this in your insurance skits.
Dude, I have a great idea for your insurance sales pitch. Okay, so the other day I was at a Denny's, right, and the server came up, and I was like, "Hey, do you have a life insurance policy?" Right, and then you have to know about this server. She has 2 kids, so I'm like, "Wait, do you have kids?" Wait, oh, and by the way, it was a Thursday.
Oh, okay, that's
that's very important. That's very important for the story. Okay, so anyway, and by the way, our food was late. So that's real. That's
the insurance.
So you need. Oh wait, but I need to get to the. I need to get to the part to the part that you're going to use. Okay. Do I need to continue on this bit, or did we get it?
I think we get. I love the idea. Like, okay, listen. Okay, I got an idea for. Listen, here's an idea for your insurance bit. Ready?
Yeah.
Bundle home and auto.
Be like, yeah. No, I'm gonna write.
Oh, that's good.
That's that's a good one. That's a fun reversal. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how, your dreams? I assume I don't think anybody gets in a comedy as, again, like a life plan. So I think it's some sort of dream or some sort of.
Well, I'll tell you. So I always. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay?
Let's go back to the beginning.
I'm a little bit different, obviously, because I got my start when I was 8 and 9 years old. I would sneak downstairs after bedtime to watch the Arsenio Hall show, right? So everyone else was talking about they were watching the Carson or whatever, and that was the comics. So when I was a kid, the people I was watching were urban comics, Bruce, Earthquake. Those were the people that I would idolize. And of course, it wasn't until mid-'90s when Comedy Central started having the Janine Garofalo and Margaret Cho and those things that I started to feel like something with white people. And
Margaret Cho, as we all know, one of the more famous white people.
White person,
Yeah. That's what happens when we're white. We just think everybody is one of us.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be doing an Asian show here soon.
Actually, that is funny. And actually, I am doing the
all Asian show,
the crazy woke Asian show, and I am not two of those three things.
Yeah.
I am not woke.
So what is more Asian than a Caucasian?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I got it.
See, anyways.
Okay, so you're watching a bunch of comedians.
So that's how I grew up. That's what I do, and I would watch, Def Comedy Jam. Like that's really where I got my start. And when I was a kid, I just thought that you were just born Jerry Seinfeld, right? You know, you could. Well, I mean, he was obviously,
yeah,
but
one was,
yeah,
the one and only.
The one and only. No, but I thought like, okay, if you're gonna be a professional comedian, you just are a professional comedian, and
sure.
I didn't know that you had to go do things and all.
There were steps.
There were steps to this thing.
I thought you were born, and you get $1 million an episode on your sitcom.
I really 100% thought that when I was, now I thought that you just, he's from New York, he's in New York, and someone goes, "Hey, you're funny. Here's a show."
Yeah. Pulls him in the limo. "Hey, kid."
Yeah. "Hey, I'm gonna make you a star. You're gonna be a big entrance into
Right.
So I honestly, that was my thing, and I didn't know this. I didn't realize it at the time, but when I was in elementary and middle school, remember like when Ace Ventura came out?
Oh my gosh!
So everyone would like start with they would they'd say the lines, and then they would all get laughs, and I was always thinking, I was like, man, but you're not funny. That person that wrote that was funny. You're not funny because you can say the line that he said. That doesn't make you funny.
Yeah.
And so even back then, I always liked to write my own material.
Right.
I was like, I want to tell my own joke.
I want to express myself.
I want to express myself.
Quit telling me to be something I'm not.
No.
Get away.
And then jokes. But that's not. No, but it wasn't until after the Army that I actually I got to do open mics.
Wait, so you went to the Army?
Yeah. So when I was, I skipped over a whole 10 years of my life.
Yeah. Your military service.
Yeah, whatever. Long story short, joined the Army during 2005. Went as a combat medic, did my 4 years, 18 months over in Iraq, and that's kind of how I got my start. My real start was, we'd have bad days, like as you do. It's war.
In war times, was some bad days
happen. So, like literally the same thing I do now, where I just start making fun of people, razzing people.
As a medic, as people come like, "Hey, it looks like you got a wound there.
Nice leg there. Whoops."
That's so dark. Oh, didn't mean to burn you. Oh, that was the napalm. My bad. Hey.
No, but so like after these long days, and then and back then everybody in the Army smoked cigarettes. That was just like the thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're at war, everyone smokes.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. So it was, and so like we'd get done and I'd be sitting in the smoke pit. They have it's like a fortified smoke pit, and I just started doing my thing, and then pretty soon there'd be like 40 people around me. And I'd just be like, doing all these things.
No way.
And then I learned, that's when I learned, I was like, oh, I can, whatever this is, I can use this gift. I didn't know what it was. And so many people were telling me, like, listen, you are a terrible soldier. You have got to do something else.
Yeah. Every time you had a gun, you're like, Sparky door. What place is this gun point? Yeah.
So I was a combat medic, and then I was the Swedish chef.
Yeah, right.
They'd hand me my M16.
Right. What word is this gun for?
What's wrong with it? So again, I do my honor everything. Honorable. Everything's great. And I get out and I start going to college in Florida, and I saw this thing for like a local show or something. And I'm like, I want to go check this out. Okay. So I go to this local show. and these guys are terrible. And I just remember going, I'm funnier than that. If they can do it, I can do this. And then that was my journey. I started doing it, and then just it took off.
Yeah. So it sounds like you didn't at least as a kid, that like, oh, that's my dream. It just like, oh, I know comedians.
Yeah.
But I'm not one of those because I wasn't
born into the
the guy in the limo didn't show up.
Exactly. I'm not Armenian because my dad's not Armenian.
Right.
You know, if my dad was a comedian, I would be a comedian. When my dad was a pastor, and I was like, I'm not doing that either.
So very cool. So then, so if you could say now that you are a comedian, now that you're in the business, very funny, by the way. Do you have a dream now?
I do. Actually, this is my dream. This is very self-centered and stupid.
First of all, we don't judge our dreams.
Yeah, we do.
It's definitely stupid.
It's definitely stupid
and self-centered, but we don't judge it for being self-centered and stupid.
When along probably 10 years ago, I went full time. I was really very, very lucky to go full time into comedy. About 4 years into comedy, incredibly lucky, right? But I kind of had an idea. I was like, okay, what do I have? You have to sit down. You have to go. What do I want out of this? What can I honestly think that I can get out of it? And how hard am I willing to work? Right.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, let me do all these things. And I realized, I was like, listen, if I can, at the end of a 20-year, 25-year career, I want to have a house that is paid off with my stupid jokes. And I want to have a big barbecue with all my comic friends. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's it.
I love it.
I don't have these, I never had these delusions of grandeur that I'd be the next Kevin Hart or anything. I was like, I know that I'm funny enough that I can make a good living doing comedy.
Yeah.
And if something else, if something great happens, awesome. But I know that I'm a hard enough worker that I can make this a sustainable career.
So if all of your friends are at the barbecue, then where am I?
You are serving at the,
which is actually my dream. My dream was to one day to be the server at a really successful comedian's barbecue.
Moderately successful.
Moderately, like the house is paid for. We didn't say how big of a house.
No. It's
a mini house, but it cost me $20,000, but that is free and clear.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, 1,300 square feet, all mine.
By the way, don't spill on the carpets. I can't afford to replace all of my money went into paying off this mortgage.
Yeah. 100%. Like,
you realize how we instantly slip into Italian mafia people all the time, or New Yorkers.
I get it. And then, have you noticed that that's the only accent that's not racist to do?
I know. That's the only one we have left.
That's it.
Yeah.
My dad, who now he's got severe dementia, and it's a whole nother thing. But he would do these accents, right? And he'd start doing Irish accent, but it was so racist. Because it was not Irish, and he would like, he'd be like, top of the morning to you, and I'd be like, Dad, you can't.
So it's an Indian Irish accent. It's an Asian Indian Ish accent.
And he would even do this too.
Oh, do you want some Guinness, my friend?
You want to go to the Lucky Charms?
We're going to go over to McO'Brien's house, my friend, and then we're going to fix their computer and then drink Guinness.
Yes. Let's talk about the great potato famine.
And then we're going to river dance over. Oh man. Well, I think that's a really cool dream. I actually really love that because there's the dream element too, but there's also a very like practical I did this or I didn't thing. Yeah. I think it's easy, at least I know for me, to just sort of kind of be nebulous, like, oh, I want to make it.
Yeah, but what is make it?
Make it.
But what is make it?
Yeah, like define it, what does that mean?
I think we're at a point in our society right now where it's so like you can get on our phone, we can put a clip up right now, right? So much easier to do. In the history of the world, we've never been able to do this in the history of the world. But it is so much harder to make a living doing that because there's so much crap out there that people have to wade through their crap to get to your stupid crap that you want them to get.
Yeah.
And when the apocalypse comes, man, oh, boy, when we lose TikTok, I can't wait. Live events coming back.
That is a hot take right here. When Josh is asking for the TikTok apocalypse.
Absolutely. The dystopian future I am hoping for. involves sold out arenas for this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
and everyone else is dead, but the remaining 15,000 people rest
sold out,
and you are the one comedian. You're the only one left. We had to travel 7,000 miles to see the only living comedian who's left. We traveled from Irish India, which is one country now, because
it's all put It's one. It's
as part of the apocalypse, the whatever the ocean or the sea that divides the continent.
Eurasia has turned into a giant mountain. In this scenario, Eurasia is a mountain, and then India is you have to go.
And ironically, there was also a potato famine again, which again, still potato famine. So very cool. So why don't I feel like I have been driving the bus?
I want to know. Here's the thing. Because on the same thing, like what were the things that influenced you as a child to become a comedian? Because it's trauma. Obviously.
It's always trauma.
It's always trauma.
So I remember at a very young age when I had to go to bed, and then I would hear my dad downstairs laughing at television. And I thought to myself in my little pea brain head of like, oh, if I want my dad's attention, I need to be funny and I need to be on television. So that was definitely a motivation when I learned that in therapy, by the way. I didn't just come up with that. I didn't do a deep meditation and be like, Dad, why aren't you laughing at me? But I remember in the 4th grade is when I started entertaining. And it was kind of similar to what you said when you were in the Army. It's just, you just started doing things and you realized that people were watching and laughing. And that's what happened in like the 4th grade. I became the class clown. I started to find every day it was, how can I get this class to laugh at me today? And it was always me riffing off something that happened with the teacher or, finding jokes. And then you'd mentioned Ace Ventura. So like the Ace Ventura, the Saturday Night Live era from the 90s, the Chris Farleys, the Adam Sandlers, Hans and Franz, Norm Macdonald, Kevin Nealon, Phil Hartman, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey. I could do all of those sketches. Mm-hmm. And so I would see those sketches, and then I would show up to school, and I would start doing, I'm Hans, I'm Franz, and, like, Wayne's World, party time. I would do all of that stuff, and so I would be reenacting those skits. And I remember putting on little skits with my classmates, like out at recess. And then when the teacher would bring us in for recess, we'd act out like these little skits, for the teacher. Yeah. My good friend, Scott Walrath, who was like my tight friend all through elementary school, all the way through high school. Still a good friend, but, we went our separate ways. But anyway,
he's a felon now.
Yeah, no, he's actually a firefighter and one of the EMT firefighters, and he is crushing it. And we actually still stay in touch. But anyway, his family had a camcorder, and I remember that was the first time I'm like, whoa, I can get myself in a movie here. So I remember making dumb little movies with my buddy Scott. And anyway, I could tell about 1,000 stories about childhood of, doing little skits for the school, getting into school plays and all of that. And there was something in me that always wanted to be an actor. I actually remember telling my 8th grade guidance counselor that I wanted to be an actor, like literally put that down. I didn't even know what that meant. I think it's kind of like you, like I thought that, you just say you're going to be an actor, and then you stop making $1 million an episode on your sit.
And you go to the guy, she goes, what do you want to be? I want to be an actor. She goes, listen, I got a guy. Jerry, we got him. We got another one.
There's this 8th grader here at Conley Middle School in Tempe, Arizona. This kid's going to be a star. That didn't happen. But I do remember being strongly influenced by all those comedic actors. In terms of stand-up, the biggest stand-up comedian, I remember watching a stand-up comedian named Wendy Lieberman, or is it Liebman? Oh, shoot. I should know this. I think
Lieberman.
Lieberman.
I think so.
And what was really interesting about this, I remember watching her do stand-up like on some sort of TV showcase, whatever one was going on in the late 90s, whether it was Louis Anderson. I remember Louis Anderson had a comedy showcase that was on TV. Whoever was showing up on Letterman or, I'd always watch those stand-up comedians. But I remember her comedy and laughing so hard. And she had this one joke, and I still remember the joke, although I'm going to butcher it. But the essence is, she's dating a guy, and she goes, I was dating the guy, but it didn't work out because I was a morning person and he didn't like me. And something about that joke, I remembered that joke for years, and I would steal it. Just, I wasn't doing comedy, so I did.
Yeah. It's okay. No, it's when you're 8 in 8th grade or whatever.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's okay.
But I remember for years after hearing that joke, I would just say that just when I'm with friends or whatever, like hanging out with my buddies and be like, oh, yeah, I was dating this girl. It didn't work out, though, because, I'm a morning person and she didn't like me. And I love that joke. And what was really cool, by the way, we're getting off topic here, but about 4 years ago, I submitted my some comedy writing to some competition, and I won. And the winner of that got to do a comedy showcase at this comedy show that Wendy Lieberman produces. So I got to do stand-up comedy in front of her and got to meet her after the show and be like, I still remember that joke that I heard on television 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So, okay, same thing. Janine Garofalo had this great 20, 30-minute comedy special on Comedy Central. My favorite joke of hers was she goes, I was watching, what's the one, the fancy stuff, not BET. She's watching
A&E?
No, what's
it? Entertainment?
And what's the one with all the fancy fashion stuff? It was like a different channel. Anyways, okay, I know. Anyways, so she's like, I was watching the fashion show, and they're saying, and they're all saying, well, Finn is in this year, and then she's going, yeah, as opposed to last year when back fat was all the rage. And it's just that thing that clicks in you, and you go, oh my gosh, that's the thing, and then. Yeah,
yeah, and then you think, oh, that's really easy to do, and then you realize, like, oh, that's actually really effing hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll just give just some highlights. So, I get out of high school. I belonged to the Mormon faith at that time, so I went on a 2-year Mormon mission. I came back from that. I got into college, and it's so fascinating to me because there was never a point in my life up until recently when I thought, oh, I can have a dream and I can go for it. Mm-hmm. Like, I really want this thing and I can go for it. I wanted it, but there was some huge mental, emotional, cultural, whatever it was, religious block that just said, oh, no, you don't get to do that thing. Mm-hmm. That's for those.
That's for them. They get to do that.
You slug along and sell insurance.
Yeah.
And so, I got a degree in business and I had a real estate license and I was doing real estate, but there was something about me, and I was also a musician, which was funny. I was actually just talking to my mom about this. So I played music my whole life, but as much as I have a passion for music, but what I loved about music was the entertainment element of it.
Yeah.
I loved being in the marching band. I loved being on the drum line because I was on the drum line and everybody watches because it's a performative art form.
I played drums because they got to stand in the back and goof off during band.
Right, exactly.
Whole reason. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the only reason I started doing drums in the first place was my buddy Scott, who I talked about, was also playing drums.
Yeah.
So I started playing drums so I could hang out with Scott, and then he quit drums in junior high, but I'd play drums all the way through college. And then, I also played piano and stuff.
Did you have like a scholarship or anything?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's okay. No, I went to the community college, Mesa Community College, which actually...
I couldn't do a triplet to save my life.
Hey.
Community college.
Right.
I'll take anybody.
Well, the thing is, I was a good musician, but I wasn't a discipline. I wasn't.
Yeah.
To be like a professional musician,
you have to care.
You have to care. You got to be practicing 8 hours a day. And if that's what you want, I didn't really want that. I loved music and I loved entertaining. So but I could hang. I played in a couple cover bands and all of this stuff. So, what ends up happening is I end up going to see a show in Mesa, Arizona. I was actually at Scottsdale at the time, and it was a short-form improv troupe called The Jesters. And so I went to go see that, and I'm going, oh my gosh, these people are incredible.
Yeah.
I can't even believe what I'm watching right now. So I had a draw towards improvisation. And so I would go to that show all the time. And it kind of became like my go-to. I would go.
How old were you?
So this is in college, like college. So I'm like 23, 24, around
37,
there.
38.
37, 38. So I would go see the show, and anytime I'd have a date, it was a good date night, I'd go take him, to the Jesters Improv show. But there was nothing in me that said, well, why don't you do swing? Yeah. I didn't have that go get them, go try things. I had this play it safe, life kind of sucks, you don't get what you want, you take what you can get, mentality. And I was doing real estate. I mean, I enjoyed real estate. It kept the bills paid, kind of. But anyway, I started to go to this show so much that the owner started to recognize me. And I just think he saw that I maybe had a personality because I would be like the most animated audience member because it's audience participation. I'd be like, yeah. Like, pineapple. Look at, I made something. Everybody look at me,
Yeah.
But stage, oh no, I could never do that.
Yeah.
I could never do that. So he contacts me. This was in about 2008 and just says, hey, I think you should sign up for our improv classes. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess if you want.
See, exactly. You need someone to be like,
hey, kid.
Yeah. I was talking to a guidance counselor the other day.
Hey, remember in 8th grade when you said to be an actor? I know you're 28 now, and that was 20 years ago, or 15. Anyway, so I started taking improv classes, and then I just soared in there. And then I ended up joining their main stage cast after about 6 months. And then after that, I was just all in on improvisational comedy. I was performing with this troupe all the time. They had a huge corporate client list, so I started getting booked on all their corporate gigs. And then they had 4 shows every weekend. And then I started teaching classes, and then I introduced music improv. So I realized, again, music entertainment, I could take my music skills, my piano skills, and improvise songs. And I had zero interest in stand-up. And even then, I didn't have any sort of, oh, well, what's the next thing? How far can I take this acting gift? Can I take my talents to Hollywood? Or any? I didn't have that gumption. I just had the, like, I'm good at this, and I can do that. And I also didn't really want to do stand-up either. Stand-up terrified me. It's like I loved improv because you have a cast, you got a troupe, you support each other. Stand-up to me of just like, wait, I have to know what I'm going to say, and I have to write it down beforehand and then rehearse it and then deliver it, and it has to be funny, and it's just me. And if it's not funny, there's nobody going to swipe in and save me, So what ends up happening in 2014, I take a break because I had been doing strictly improvisation acting. It was so funny because I was treating improv like my career, and I was treating real estate like my job, like my side hustle. Although I was making almost no money as an improviser, as you know, and I could have been like a millionaire as a realtor if I took it.
Of course, it gets seriously. I love that you start improvising. You're like, this is a career plan.
This is the career plan.
The most
$20 a show. $20 a show.
We got to split this between 5 people. Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. But, it was where my heart was, you know what I mean? Like, and I didn't have a family who, had needs. So anyway, I ended up taking a break from that troupe in 2014 again for about 7 years. I just ate, drank, slept, breathed that troupe. And I was almost kind of synonymous with it. Like people begin to know, like, oh, you're Paul the Jester. I would get a little bit of celebrity, local fame and be recognized at, grocery stores. And they're like, hey, I saw you were the funniest and all that. And I relish that.
And they're all like, John Malkovich. No.
Bruce Willis? Oh, thank you. Vin Diesel, who hasn't eaten in 6 months?
Yeah.
So anyway, I take a break from the troupe in 2014, and then I had this sort of gap in my schedule, so I started doing stand-up. And I didn't think anything of stand-up, or me and stand-up, but I took this class, and part of the class, they gave us a 5-minute showcase right at the end of the class. So you do what material working on.
Is it the Tony Visich one?
Yeah, Tony Visich at Tempe Center for the Arts. So I do that showcase. I do my 5 minutes. Went okay. And then Tony pulls me aside, and he looks at me, and he kind of, to do his recap of my set or whatever. And he just goes, what the F are you doing in Arizona? Well, by the way, he didn't say F. He said the actual bad word.
He said the F.
He said the bad word.
What the fuck are you doing?
It was a very bad word.
Oh, Lord.
And I couldn't even, wait, what do you mean? What are you saying to me right now? He's like, why aren't you in New York? Why aren't you in L.A.?
Yeah.
Going, huh? And what he was in essence telling me, and it took him about a year, is saying, your talent is wasted here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And
this is and I love, I don't actually, but I love Phoenix. I don't really love Phoenix, but this is a vacuum of talent.
right.
It really is wasted here.
Yeah. So, but it took me a huge. Sorry. We love performing at your clubs.
Sorry, Mayor of Phoenix.
I know, right? So, that was like one of the first times in my lifetime that anybody outside of me, because it wasn't going to come from internally. I didn't have that internal drive or belief in myself. That was the first time anybody externally looked at me and just said, no, you actually are like a cut above talent-wise, and you could be really going for it.
Yeah.
And it took Tony about a year, and then some other things happened. I got this new job that had a dream manager. I actually had my old dream manager on the podcast about a month ago so it was like Tony working in one ear, my buddy Dan Rouse working in the other ear of like, go for your dreams. Like, go, what's keeping you here?
Yeah.
And so it took that external, and people who like I know aren't bullshitting me. Like, if you knew Tony, Tony's not a bullshitter.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a pat you on the back and lie to your face to make you feel good. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not the type of guy he is. So when he says something, he really means it, and he's not gonna just blow smoke up my rear end. So it took him. So I kept taking his stand-up comedy class, and every time we sit down, he'd just be like, "So, what are you doing? You making plans? You going to LA? And I had to get over a bunch of head trash and a bunch of all that stuff. But eventually, in 2015, I packed up my U-Haul. I gave away 2/3 of my stuff to go live in a room that was half the size of what I was living in and 3 times as much.
Absolutely.
And so I did that. So I was in LA for 7, 8 years. And then a little bit of this story, but I met a woman back here in Phoenix. That brought me back to Phoenix. Mm-hmm. That didn't work out. And now I'm sort of in this like regrouping mode.
Yeah. Because you go, I don't know what you go, all right. Because they say you go to LA for 6 or 7 whatever years and it doesn't work out. You kind of know it may not be in the cards for you. But are we including COVID time?
Right.
So
I was there during COVID. Yeah.
So that's another thing. You go, okay, so really you're really at 4.
Right.
You're at 4 years of LA time, which really you need another 3 years to figure out if it's worth it.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is in 2019, I was also really divided. It's like, well, what am I doing here? Am I doing acting? Am I doing stand-up? Am I doing improv? Am I doing music? Right? And I was.
Yeah.
And so I was doing all of them kind of poorly. And each of those disciplines, there's somebody who's more dedicated, more resourceful, better looking, younger, hotter, more talented.
Yeah.
And, uncle owns Disney, or whatever. Or, so I remember in 2019, I just said, I need to pick a discipline. And what's so funny is I always wanted to do comedic acting. But anytime I tried to just focus on acting, something would always pull me back towards stand-up, which was the thing I wanted to do the least because it's the hardest for me to do.
Yeah.
The grind is the hardest for me, like writing, refining material, and like my ego and my insecurities just have such a hard time with that.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I made a decision. I'm like, whatever's going to happen with acting is just going to need to happen. But stand-up is such a craft, and it deserves my full attention instead of me kind of half-assing stand-up. And, I have enough of a personality and enough of stage experience that I can wobble through a stand-up routine for 5 minutes or 7 minutes. And if something isn't going well, I can go off script and riff and entertain. But it's like I'm not really honing the craft of joke writing and figuring out my voice and my persona and really dialing in like a really tight, scripted, written stand-up routine. Mm-hmm. So in 2019, I just said, this year, stand-up only. And I am going to do a minimum of on average of 1 set a day.
Yeah. Okay.
So 7 a week.
Yeah.
And I set that goal.
Sometimes you do 2 or 3 in a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially in LA, you can do 3, 4, 5 open mics in a day. Yeah. Easy. If you're dedicated. So I made that dedication, and in 2019, I ended up doing, I think I was just shy of 400 sets.
Great.
Yeah. And through that, I started to book stuff, and I started to get into the festivals, and people started, to notice me, and blah, 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 blah. And then I had booked out all of this stuff. I got a cruise ship manager. I got a comedy manager. I got bookers who were booking me for casinos.
Yeah.
And, I had like 4 festivals booked, all for 2020.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you heard what happened.
Wait, what happened?
What happened was I sneezed on a bat.
Oh, man.
And then that bat flew to Wuhan, China.
See, what I thought happened was that there was a lab in China.
No, the Wuhan, China coronavirus lab is not where the Wuhan
coronavirus.
We're totally still in Jon Stewart right now. We got to give credit. We got to give credit where credit's due. See, I can't steal a joke without immediately giving credit. That was Wendy Lieberman. That was Jon Stewart.
Now you can't. Yeah, you're a 14-year-old. You can't. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was my idea. So anyway, that really kind of obviously wiped everything out. And then 2020 was just 2021 was kind of like, what the heck's going on? Mm-hmm. And then 2020, I met the lady, and then that brought me back. And so now I'm still, it's funny because I'm a stronger dreamer than ever. And my dreams are more ambitious and ridiculous and audacious than ever.
Question, I don't want to put my hands up.
Let me just.
What's your dream now? Like where, let's say if you were to write down, what are the?
Oh, I have written down.
Okay, where's your dream board? You gotta have a dream board.
I did have a board, but I took it down. But I got a journal.
Yeah, and that's not good enough. Listen, you gotta have a board.
I'll put it back up
on the wall.
I will put it back up.
Go cut out like a ransom note. Cut out a bunch of things.
Well, I do that for all the people I'm stalking, so I guess I could do that for my dream.
It's a ransom your dreams.
I'm watching you dreams. Cut out.
So what's give me a realistic dream. Let's say
my dreams aren't realistic at all.
Oh, what's your wildest
wildest? I'll say the magic brush dream. Number 1 is that I'm a big enough name that strangers will pay money to buy tickets to see me perform, and I could perform. I don't want to say anywhere in the world, but
pretty much anywhere in the United States.
Any sort of medium, even small market, and maybe some major markets to where I'm enough of a draw to where because to me that actually means I'm making a living at it. Because if I could sell 200 tickets in any sort of major, medium, it's like I'm good. You get beyond 200, I'm Bill Burr, right?
Yeah.
But if I could get to that point where I'm enough of a draw to where strangers, because that's just not the case right now. So that would be number 1. Number 2 then would also be to be able to star and or act or at least feature or guest star in sitcoms and movies that actually have major distribution.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then from there, it would be, being able to produce or be involved in producing my own scripts, my own ideas, working with the people who I want to work with, who've supported me along the way, be able to, help the other comics who maybe didn't get the fame, but are funny and talented.
Yeah, bring them up a little.
Extend
the ladder down a little bit.
Yeah, and I would love, as part of my stand-up comedy show, I actually would love to do a variety show.
Okay.
I love variety. And that's another thing to where, there's actually enough guaranteed money. We know we're going to sell 1,000 tickets for $100, and then I can actually pay people to have, my buddy, Mike Rainier, who's one of the most funny, crazy jugglers, and I could actually pay him and fly him out and give him good accommodations and pay him money so he actually feels valued for how funny and artistic he is. And then my buddy Bill Cotton, Dave Cox, who are magicians, and they do this 2-person magic show that I play piano for. Actually, we'll be playing with them at the Magic Castle next week and be able to fly them out and pay them a lot of money relative. You know what I mean? So that they feel like the royalty that I see them as their, as artists and as performers. And then, so this show that I envision, it's stand up, and then out of nowhere, 2 singing magicians are doing a magic show, and then all of a sudden this guy with an umbrella is juggling a spinning a cheeseburger around his umbrella, and then all of a sudden a singer-songwriter comes out and does like a funny parody song, and then I come out and do stand-up, and then Josh comes out and does stand-up, and then I come out with two other people and we do an improvised musical or an improvised Shakespeare, and it's just going to be like, people will be like, we don't know what the heck is going on, but all of it will be the like funniest, top-notch, most entertaining thing they've ever seen. As opposed to just like a traditional, it's a stand-up show and I'm going to come out and do an hour of material.
No. I love that idea of like having like because I love when something is different. You're like, we're gonna have this and we're gonna have this and we're gonna have this, and I'm like, good, because I don't have the attention span to listen to all this crap. My question is, feasibly, I know we love Phoenix. Both of us. We love Phoenix a lot.
I actually do love Phoenix, by the way.
Well, he's lying. And no.
I genuinely do love it. And, like, this is home for me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And, like, living in L.A. versus living in Phoenix, like, that's why I haven't wanted to go back.
Yeah.
Because L.A. is just such a pain in the ass city, and I've been back. And I was actually looking at places this last week. It's like, what would it look like if I moved back?
Well,
but anyway, I cut off your point.
No, but the point is that because Phoenix is a vacuum of talent, it is, it's because we're so close to L.A., whenever somebody is talented here, you have to, like, you go to L.A. There's no way to gain fans and fandom here in this area.
Unless you do it online, but then you're not really doing it in Phoenix. Yeah, you're doing it on the internet. Yeah.
You could live in Asheville, North Carolina, if you want, if that's the case. The question I would have is, how feasible is your dream living here?
I don't know. And
because like, let's get, so this is that thing where I go, okay, like my brain goes, okay, I have a dream. How do I what are the steps I need to do, right? And so I go, okay, so we have a dream. We want to be on sitcom, actor, comedian, stand-up, improviser, movies, all these other things. Does Phoenix have an industry for any of those? No. And I tell people this all the time. There are 3 cities you can live in right now. If you want to do comedy, 3 cities you can live in and do comedy and make a really good living doing comedy. So there's New York, right? L.A. you can't make a living there, but the connections you get will help you get on the road and get other. The other city is Nashville. Nashville is a phenomenal city. It has a great stand-up, great comedy scene, but it's also every single agency that is in New York and L.A. has an agency in there because of the country music and all the other things that are happening there. That being said, like, let's say you're like, okay, I want to be just an actor. Okay, actor. Then you don't really need to be in Nashville, right? You need to go, okay, New York, L.A., Atlanta, right? If you're going, I want to be the coolest stand-up comedian in the world. Cool, go to Austin. Right. And so like it's kind of like you got to figure out, okay, what do I want? How do I get there? And what is the best? Where am I going to give myself the best chance of attaining that goal?
Yeah, and that's a fair point. I haven't had 10 years ago when I moved to LA, like that took so much ambition and drive and momentum and faith and all of that.
Yeah.
And I just haven't been able to generate that to just go to LA just based off of a hope and a prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I knew nobody out there.
Yeah.
I had no connections. I had no credits. I had nothing except an improv resume that actually didn't mean anything in LA. I went to all the schools. I went to IO. I went to Second City. I went to Groundlings. I went to UCB. And I was like, hey, I have 8 years. I have 1,000 improv performances. I've taught. I've created curriculums. I'm a music improviser. I'm a long form. I'm a short form. And they said, please start at level 1.
That's exactly it.
Right?
They don't care.
So
no, they don't care who you are.
No.
And
because I'm nobody.
Exactly. Because nobody is anybody in LA until you're somebody in LA.
Yeah. So, yeah, to try to do that again. And I've been trying to wrap my head around it. And what I've been putting out there, and again, we've had some discussions about the like a god or a deity or a universe, and I was telling you about some synchronicities. What I've put out there is like if this is going to happen and I need to move cities again, I need I need some major help. You know what I mean? Like, and by help, I mean, like, I don't have the gumption right now. And if it gets to the point to where I just realize, like, Paul, you just got to do it, and nobody's coming to save you, and nobody's coming to help you, which is probably most likely the case.
I hate that you are a middle-aged white guy, and nobody cares.
Nobody cares. So
I say that's my mantra every time I look in the mirror. Okay, nobody cares. You can do it yourself, or you can not
die alone.
Exactly. Nobody cares.
So, but I told you about how I booked that really random thing.
Exactly. And so now the question is, do you think that you can use that as leverage to get to the next thing?
No.
Okay.
No, like what I booked isn't leverageable. It's not a stepping stone. But it was interesting that it happened.
Yeah.
By the way, I've talked about this on previous podcasts, but I had put out to the universe that I'm like, I just want somebody to come reach out to me.
Well, it was weird that because you were telling me that you did it was a one-man show of the film Misery. And it was weird that you dressed up as Kathy Bates, and then you also broke your ankles. And I was like, that's a little far.
I go method,
A little far.
I need Hollywood to know that I am willing to sacrifice everything, even my soul. It's for sale. So anyway, I booked this. It was like a crime documentary reenactment thing. I'm literally a non-union minimum wage actor.
Yeah.
For like 10 hours of work.
Uh-huh.
But I was in LA and I was filming again, and so anyway, I'm trying to wrap my head around what that might look like, going back there, and I've been starting to like look at getting rooms. I mean, I actually really do love what I do have going on in here, LA, or in Phoenix. I'm regular at JP's, which is great. I have. Randy Hausner is starting to book me for his, stuff at Stir Crazy and his Clean Comedy USA. But the reality is I could be living in LA and travel to Phoenix, which is what I was doing before. I still travel to Phoenix all the time.
Exactly.
But man, the notion of like packing up and then going and signing a lease in LA, like, I cannot wrap my head around that yet. So that's where I go like, universe, God, I know you don't care about me because I'm a middle-aged white man. But if I could get a little more help than a non-use.
Yeah. Well, this is because this is the selfish part of me, because I love hanging out with you, and I think like we have like a really good like rapport, whatever. Like
it's actually repertory.
Sorry. Listen, that's not my fort. Okay.
It's 40.
I really do. And I'm like, man, I love that. But then I'm also like, because I was like, okay, we should start doing things. We could do things here. But then I'm also in my head, I'm like, but I'm doing things, and it just doesn't make you go. So, and I go, okay, Paul, you have two choices: stay and pray, or go and show.
So what you're saying is there is no God.
I believe 100% in God. And I tell you,
but you don't believe that me praying to him is going to do anything,
because here's the thing, is because you don't believe praying to him is going to do anything.
Well, I do a little bit.
Okay, so I tell people, this is what I like to tell people, is that I don't know how it works, but when you really do like have that faith in God, things work out. And I don't know how it works. I don't know how it works, but I'm telling you, like you go. I heard this like the Spanish magician say it, like when he would do a card trick, is like, and I don't know how, but here's your card. It's your card. Yeah. That's how I was thinking, and I like,
híjole.
Yeah. And so I go, okay, when I'm living the Christ-like, and I'm going, and I really have that feeling, and I'm not, I things happen, like just like those like not just the idea of like, okay, well, I saw the Simpsons thing, I saw like those ideas, but I mean like literal things will happen, and you go, there's no explanation.
Sure.
I've told this story several times that before I started doing these movies, I showcased for cruises, and I crushed, standing ovation, right? The cruise directors decided not to buy. They were like, we don't want them. We don't want. I was like, okay, whatever. But
they use the story of why middle-aged man.
Yeah. Well, but they were like, but then they got someone else as a middle-aged man who was not funny, who had a bad showcase, but they picked him, and I'm going, well, why weren't they picked me? And then I realized that, and how I feel about it. I felt like God shut that door for me, because if I was doing those cruises, these opportunities I'm getting from movies would not have come up. Yeah. There's no way this would happen. And then if you look at how much I got into this thing, and you're going, and I'm talking with, like I was with my pastor, and we were praying about, because I want to get into more churches, and I want to do more things on a bigger level. And so we prayed about it. And then we looked back at like the timeline of events that happened to me getting the first movie that I got. It was within a day or two of that.
Yeah.
You go, within a day or two of us praying about this, these things started to line up. This movie that was originally supposed to be made in 2006, that had a $50 million budget, that got pushed back so many times that they were finally able to sell it to Dean Cain, who then was like, so Dean Cain goes online, and he's looking for somebody. He's like, oh, is there like a fat Christian comic? And he literally, I had to pick. It's spelled wrong.
Please don't tell me that you are fat Christian comic and SEO. Like Google knows that's you.
I would like to do it. I want to do this. Here's what I'm doing. I want to put my phone. I'm going to put mine into. I'll put in. What's the one? Is it incognito mode? I'm going to try incognito mode.
See if I know you ain't cheating.
Fat
Christian. All right, guys, we're getting a real life demo of Google's SEO search.
There you go. Fat Christian comedian, baby.
Boom.
Boom. You like fat Christian comedians? That's me. I'm the guy.
You are the one and only.
I'm the guy.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible.
Look at that. See, it's so funny.
But he reaches out to you and says, "You're my guy."
So I mean, so like in essence, but so he puts in, and so he sees a clip of mine, and he goes, and he apparently watches everything that I've ever done to make sure that I wasn't like a devil worshiper, and
posing as a fat Christian.
I tell the story at the time that I get this message on Twitter or X, formerly Twitter. You have to, I don't know what it's called now. And I was like, 100. I thought it was a scam.
Sure.
For real. But when I got the message, I was wearing a Superman t-shirt. Right? I'm wearing a Superman t-shirt. I get the message. Oh, you're so funny, whatever. Here's my DM. And I was like, oh, and then I looked at the thing. I was like, oh, he's got 1 million followers. Okay. Probably the right person.
Right.
Then they think, DM me right now. Cool. DM him. Call me. I was like, this is definitely a scam. And I picked it up. I called the number.
Like, hey, is your auto warranty expired?
It was my dad. It was my dad doing the Irish accent.
Irish Indian accent.
Would you like to? Okay. Yeah. Really, Shane Gillis here.
I don't know. Hey, that would be a great move. I'll get Shane Gillis all day long.
I know. Well, now.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah. So we have this whole conversation. But so when they're telling me like the timeline of the event, I'm like this. The timeline of what happened was like when me and my pastor prayed for this thing to happen, there was a group of fraternity brothers they've been 30 years ago. They were fraternity brothers. They're all very successful. That now they want to invest in movies. They're doing all these things. They start talking about things. One of them goes, "Oh, I know the story." He tells a story about this thing that happened, and then by the time it gets to me, there's probably 30 things that have happened that are outside of the control of most human beings.
Yeah,
to put something together like this.
So what I'm hearing is I need to go pray with your pastor.
Dude, Pastor Danny crushed it.
Yeah,
dude, Pastor Danny will crush it.
He's awesome. He's the prayer meister, huh?
He is, dude. Pastor Danny is. I go to church. Everyone's got face tattoos. Like nobody's perfect in our church. Everyone's like ex-gangsters and drug dealers and prostitutes and.
I'm a straight, white, clean, middle-aged man with a dream.
Like looking at you like instead. Oh, he was an MS-13. He was a blood. What about him?
When's the last time you done drugs?
Like what? Never. Hey, Paul, what are you doing? Well, I've got a dream.
I want to dance on Broadway. Yada da yada da.
I want to earn my dad's respect.
I did one of those. You know those trends where people be like, I'm a teacher. I da 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 da, and then it's like that.
Yes.
I did one of those for comedians.
Uh-huh.
It's like, and one of them was like, I'm a comedian. You may think that I'm trying to get you to laugh, but I'm really just trying to get my dad's love as a 4-year-old. Funny because it's true.
That's true.
Well, yeah, that gives me some stuff to think about. I have been getting back into what element does faith play into this? What element does luck, which I think luck and maybe faith can really sort of are kind of in the same thing. Probably an atheist would call it luck,
Well, yeah. But here's this is one of the arguments, and I hate this argument so much, is that I hear people who claim to atheists, they go, something happens to someone, they go, well, that's karma. I'm like, oh, no. Karma is the idea that there is some sort of...
There's a note taker.
There is a deity, whether it's Jehovah, whether it's Allah, the Judeo-Christian Islamic God, or LDS God. I don't know. Croton, what's his name?
Yeah, Croton. It's crouton, actually.
Sorry.
It's a salad.
Sorry, it's not my forte.
It's ranch.
It's
blue cheese.
No, whether it's that or it's like Brahma, which is like in Hindu, like even though they have 30, that's the main guy is Brahma. And so there's an idea. They go, well, it's karma. And they're like, but you don't believe? Well, that means that there's a deity up there that is doling out justice.
Yeah, well, like
in some way.
Like, everybody else didn't see you do this thing, but I saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
And because the person that you wronged is not capable of seeking retribution in this thing, I'm going to keep track of it. And then sometime in the future, I'm going to keep track of that crappy thing that person did.
Yep.
And I am going to bestow vengeance upon him in my way later.
Yeah.
Which is not a atheistic... Which is not consistent with there is no God.
Exactly.
Right.
I think Pete Holmes, like him or love him, nobody loves Pete Holmes more than Pete Holmes loves Pete Holmes.
I'm a fan.
I'm a fan too, but
not like a huge fan, but I've never disliked it.
I'm just saying, like, nobody thinks Pete Holmes is funnier than Pete Holmes.
Sure.
Well, he had this great joke recently.
I saw it in his.
About
like God or nothing.
Yeah, there's God. That's pretty magical nothing. And
yeah.
It's a good point.
Right.
But
I can sum it up, and I think I can do this brilliantly, and I've never heard anybody put it like this in the history of the world. So Paul Green, comedian extraordinaire, is about, I am about to reduce the entire...
Take out the comedy part.
This is just Paul Green.
It's Paul Green.
No microphone.
Philosophy.
No microphone, but you do have the head portion where my brain is at.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Which definitely looks like a microphone.
Yeah. I'm glad you got that, because that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's just my head on a microphone.
Yeah. Definitely, only looks like a microphone. Does not look like anything else. Anyways, go ahead.
What else?
I don't know.
Here's the thing. There's two options, and both of them are impossible.
Okay,
but one of those impossible options has to be true.
Yeah.
Option number one is something has always existed.
Correct.
Which is impossible.
Yeah.
Or nothing existed and then something existed.
Yeah.
Which is also impossible.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So theism is something always existed. We call it God.
Mm-hmm.
And go through history of any theistic, anybody, anything, there's usually, before this happened, there was this thing that always was, and then they created the thing that we are experiencing now. Or you have to go, there was a point in time when nothing existed.
Nothing.
And then, out of the blue, something happened. Both of those options are, according to our understanding, impossible. Because none of us have experienced either of those options.
Yeah.
Nobody has experienced something existing forever, and nobody has experienced nothing or something coming out of nothing.
Yeah.
It's one of those two options. My personal belief is, you ready for this?
Okay.
I'm about to drop a bomb. Paul Green is about, this got really deep and philosophical.
I love it.
We're not even talking about comedy or LA or dreams.
Yeah.
My honest opinion is between option number one or number two. My honest feeling, I have no effing clue.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I have given up.
Yeah.
On choosing a side, which I know is so non-committal, because everybody wants you to choose a side.
Well, it just means you're agnostic or whatever you go. I mean,
I lean towards a something.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I said, like, I'm meditative. I was raised in a religious community, so I'm used to praying. Now, how much of that is me just sort of reliving my own indoctrination?
Yeah.
But when I'm meditative, I am communicating outside of myself to a something that I can't see, but I can maybe kind of feel. And there have been times in my life where it seems like, because of something that came out of this head up into that, certain things lined up, like the synchronicities I talked about. And I've talked about them on this podcast because I had two just very, it's like almost what you were talking about with your movie. To me, it happened to be a Simpsons episode.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going to talk about deity, it's actually no different than him to be able to, or her to be able to line up me seeing a Simpsons episode, or they.
Ready to blow your mind? It says in the Bible that we are made in His image, right? Maybe the question, it doesn't say, does it mean our human form or a spiritual form?
And it also says there's also a reference of plurality in there somewhere, and I don't remember the exact scripture. Man has become like one of us. It says that in the King.
Oh, in the King James version.
In the King James version, maybe
it might be
NIV changed it.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah. Here's my my philosophy, my personal opinion, right? Everyone goes, when I die, I want to ask God these questions. And I go, God doesn't owe me a thing. When I die
you are a straight, white, middle-aged man, and you are nothing.
You are nothing. I go, when I die and I go to heaven, God's going to go, well, you made it. Can I have a question? No, I don't care. You.
Can I have a moment of your time for some questions? I'm sorry. I'm not answering any questions right now.
All-knowing being me.
Is that Trump? Is God Trump?
Yeah.
It was the most excellent.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. I was the best God.
Yeah.
Sleepy Joe, not a good God.
From nothing became something, and from something...
So what? But if you could ask him, what were you going to ask him?
No, so the idea of where does the universe come from? How does it think? Would our brains even understand it? Right? You go if God goes, well, I'm going to tell you, but you're not going to understand it.
Right.
Did you ever watch Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks? One of my favorite movies of all time.
No.
I love that movie. You have to watch it. It's amazing. I can't believe you haven't watched it. But they have this idea of people go and they go into the afterlife, but then they become smarter. And so this guy, it's Rip Torn is his lawyer in the afterlife because they have to defending his life. And he goes, he's eating something, and he goes, what are you eating? He goes, you wouldn't like it. He goes, why not? Because your brain's too small. You don't understand.
You don't get it.
You don't get it.
Yeah.
He goes, let me try it. And so he eats it. He goes, that tastes like horse crap. And he goes, exactly. You don't get it.
Yeah, you don't get it. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up.
I think so too. We did pretty good.
On the whether or not there's a God.
Well, actually,
okay. Okay. How about a wrap up question for each of us?
I want to do this really quick. Because I like to ask this question.
Okay.
And you can say this whether it's your upbringing or how you feel now. How does your religious upbringing or your religious views, how do they affect how you work in the entertainment industry?
Now, a lot less because I have moved on from the religion of my upbringing. When I was still devout in my religious upbringing, they had tremendous influence because I was so because everything I did, thought, and felt had to go through the filter of, is this approved by my religious indoctrination?
Yes, okay.
I mean, even to the point to where I was a clean comic because I didn't want to swear or use profanity, and I wouldn't talk about anything that would be offensive to, members of my faith. It was almost like I was doing comedy for my religious community, not comedy for me or comedy for whoever wants to listen. And then moving into LA, I had just tremendous reservations. It goes a lot deeper than that. It also bleeded into insecurities about myself, insecurities about just my worthiness, insecurities about, do I even deserve to have a good life? or should I just be punished all the time because I'm never living up to this ideal, or this standard? Oh, I should?
Yeah, always be punished.
Oh, shoot.
There's ABP. Always be punished.
So, the more I started to really learn to stand on my 2 feet and start to develop my own path and my own philosophies, and more learning to trust my own intuition and my own connection to whatever deity is I'm connected to, my religious upbringing became less and less of an influence, and to the point to where I finally said, like, I need to make a decision here. I'm either going to be all in on this religion, and I know what that looks like. I know what that feels like. I know what they think that means because I have been taught what that means, and every Sunday at church being told how I need to be better at fulfilling the dictates of this religion. So I either need to be all in or all out. And I knew that I didn't believe it with the same fervor that I did. I didn't really believe it at all anymore. And I'm going, like, I need to make a decision for myself and decide to be all in for whatever it is I'm going to be all in on. And it wasn't my religion. So moving on from my religion, of course, that also brought up all of these sort of like value systems, because it's not like everything in my religion was wrong, or, they also instilled a lot of values and, helping your neighbor and
don't drinking coffee.
Yeah, no drinking coffee, and being honest and having integrity and working hard and being, there's a lot of valuable principles. And then there's also like a belief about a God. And so how much of, the baby in the bathwater do I throw out, and how much do I throw out the bathwater but retain some of the baby?
Yeah.
What parts of the baby do I cut off and not throw out with the bathwater?
It's a King Solomon thing. You take the baby, you
cut it in half. I feel there's a my body, my choice joke in there somewhere. I'm not ready for abortion jokes. I am not there yet. I am not there yet.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah. Rule number 1.
Yeah.
So,
our place.
But, that really happened in my late 30s. So I spent most of my life really believing that religion was true, and it was true to me. And I believed in it wholeheartedly and felt that I was fortunate enough to be in the right religion. Sorry to everybody else out there. But now I'm kind of in this, you said agnostic, maybe that is the best term, but I'm sort of in this free agency where I'm not interested in committing to any religious philosophy or any God ever, by way of dogma or by way of,
tradition.
Yeah, tradition, or somebody else telling me like, oh, by the way, we got God figured out.
Yeah.
So you need to come to our camp, and then we're going to tell you all of the God stuff, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm very much more and more trying to learn to rely on myself as much as I can be relied on, which is not much.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I need to learn it.
I was going to say, as
you can tell by the sign, looks like a microphone. Anyway, that's enough about me. So okay. So do I get a wrap up question?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. Do it.
Okay. All right. So your dream is to be able to make a living of comedy and pay off a house and have a barbecue with your friends, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
However, on the road to that, what is the coolest, most you never thought this could happen to you experience that you could fathom happening? Doesn't have to be realistic. I mean, realistic within the laws of physics. I don't mean grow a unicorn.
This is something that is, I don't know if it's going to happen, but it is a realistic dream. It's a realist now it's a realistic goal. Like 6 months ago, this was not a realistic goal for me. Now it's a realistic goal that I have a realistic goal of starring in a movie that is released in theaters nationwide. That's my realistic goal. And you go, okay, what does that mean? Where is that at? Is it Hollywood? Is it Angel Studios? Is it like where are we talking about? But I look at what's going on now and I go, it's not that far off that I could realistically star in a movie that is released in nationwide theaters.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Can I then take that and challenge you with one more question?
Absolutely.
So if that was the coolest thing, since that is possible, what's even cooler than that maybe seems not feasible? And again, realistic is, I don't like that word.
Yeah.
But there is, anything's possible. It's like, no, anything is possible.
Improbable. There's improbable.
You're not going to throw a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not talking that. But what is something that would just be like, right now, if it would happen? Because, again, starting a movie would have blown your mind six. So what's the thing that would blow your mind now, but isn't impossible, and is still sort of in the umbrella of...
If I could get to the point where I am popular enough that I can sell out arenas. That's and then you go, really, you're like, okay, I'm like, that's a pipe dream. For me, that's a pipe dream, right?
But wasn't starting a movie a pipe dream 6 months ago?
It was, but I'm saying, like, right now.
So maybe the pipe dreams are the real dream.
So then you go realistic. Realistically, it's not far from the truth to think in the next year or two I could be selling out theaters.
Yeah.
Not arenas, but I could be doing,
But if you can sell out theaters,
but then if you sell out a bunch of theaters, like my good friend Leanne, she was selling out theaters, and they go, listen, you're doing 6 theater shows. Let's just do 1 arena show.
Yeah.
You go, okay.
Well, that's kind of what Bert
right, Kreischer.
Yeah.
Who I met.
Kreischer said, he's like, well, got to the point to where I could sell out, 200 tickets. I could sell out 5 200 ticket shows, so that's 1,000 tickets. Well, what if I could do 1,000 ticket venue?
Yep.
And then I do 1,000 ticket venue. It's like, oh, now I can do 1,000 ticket venue. I'm trying to get to the point to where I can sell a ticket to a stranger.
I'm actually not. I'm almost in the same spot where there's some places I do really well in, but I love doing comedy clubs, but comedy clubs don't love me, right? I do great at them, but hey, they'll give you a shot. They go, hey, we're going to give you a Sunday night. You need to sell X amount of tickets, and if you sell that, then we're going to put you on the schedule for a weekend run. And of course, if you know the comedy club, if anybody knows comedy clubs versus what I do, is one of the things, like, one show that I do normally is like 2 weekends in a comedy club. So you go,
well, the beautiful thing is, if you can sell out a theater, you don't need the comedy club.
That's exactly,
because you can book your own venues.
That's the goal.
And kindly flip a bird to the comedy clubs.
And then just use the comedy clubs as a workout room.
Yeah,
that's
totally. Yeah, because if you can do that, then you can walk into the Comedy Store and they'll give you Josh is here. Yeah, you get 15 minutes. That's what Bill Burr does.
My goal when I started doing comedy here in Phoenix after the pandemic kind of cooled down, I have this dream where we have, they do it in Nashville. They have New Material Mondays. They do it in where we have professional working comedians. We'll go and do 10, 15 minutes each. We'll do, we might have 5 or 6 of them, but professional working comedians, because there's plenty that live here in Phoenix. Go and work on material instead of doing that 5-minute, little thing where, like, I can't, what am I going to do with 5 minutes? Like, I'm at the point now, you're the same point where, like, what am I supposed to work on for 5 minutes? That's like, I have to do that 5 times to work on what I want to work on,
right?
It's a whole different ball game. And you don't think that you're going to get there, because when you first start out, you're like, I do a minute. What am I going to talk about for a minute? A minute. And then now someone's like, you got 5 minutes. It's like, I need 20 of those.
My premise is 5 minutes.
That's exactly. Yeah.
I have to set up a lot of details.
Yeah.
Dude, that is incredible. And I have nothing but faith in you and your dreams and your talent.
You too.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
I want to be here.
So I'll wrap up my podcast and then you wrap up your podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast with special guest Josh Novey. This is a podcast by dreamers for dreamers out there. I love you all so much. I hope your dreams are going well. This maybe gave a little bit of inspiration to you, and maybe you're questioning whether there's a God or not. Thank you again, and I will tune in with you tomorrow.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Novey Shovey. We had an amazing podcast with the Paul Green, the one and only comedian. And if you want to listen to this, we have it. Go check out on Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Pear. I don't know, whichever one you're going to do.
Mine's Paul Green Comedy on all things YouTube, all of the...
Mine's the Novey Shovey, WVEY.
We're just going to post this in both places, the same thing.
Yeah.
So wherever you want to listen to it, do you want to listen to it on both so we both get that click? We need that view.
Yeah. And then we'll break it up into clips and everything. It'll be fun. But for real, thank you so much for Paul to being on for doing all this stuff. And the funny thing is we are using half your equipment and half my equipment.
It's really the Paul Novey podcast or the Josh Green Comedy Novey,
the Greenie
Shovey Penis Microphone podcast.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it.
But you were thinking it. You were thinking it.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow. I don't know when this guy's going to talk to you again.
A couple weeks.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.